welcome to the Kitoko podcast about futuristic workplaces and institutions. Today we have a new guest, Dr. Surabhi Pasarakonda, an organizational culture and transformation specialist with a doctor in work and organizational psychology from the ETH. Here is also Amadeo Di Sassi, my partner in crime, and me, Arno. We are sitting here in Brighton Rhine in our beautiful office, and the sun is shining, and we can have this beautiful podcast. I want to say welcome to you guys.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi everyone. What a pleasure to be here.
Welcome, Surabhi, also for you. Maybe the first question: how are you? How was your way here to the Brighton Rhine, to our office?
Thank you, Arno. I'm fine. I'm happy to be here today on this bright, sunny day, and my day started well. I took some time to think about the questions you sent me beforehand to just get an idea about what we will talk today. So yeah, I think I'm absolutely in mood for this podcast.
So good. And you, Amadeo, what's up?
I'm feeling great. Yeah, I have only positive memories about the last podcast, and now I'm fully happy that you are here. And we had a great talk beforehand, and I'm just curious, to learn more from you and to have this exchange. Yeah. What about you? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Maybe today I was a little bit sleepy in the morning, but now I definitely woke up and are really passionate. Yeah, also to know you a little bit better. Maybe tell us something about your personality or who you are, not just about the job. Maybe also you as a person.
Sure. So I'm 32. I live in Bern, and I'm brought up and raised in Bern. I have parents that come from India, so I'm have different cultures in me, I would say so, which also helps a lot in the job that I do, in work and organizational development. And I like music. I play the violin, so I would say that's also something maybe a bit special. And I like to be with friends. I like to spend time with people that I like and family. And I would say I'm a pretty outgoing person who likes challenges and accepts challenges that life brings along. So I think that are all some traits or characteristics that keep me also curious in life and in my job. Yeah.
Very interesting point that you already mentioned, as I also have a different background from my father and my mother, and you said, okay, it helps me that I have a different background, it helps me in the job. What do you mean exactly by that? Or I'm curious to hear.
So I think having or coming from different cultures and being brought up somewhere else where there's another culture than what you have at home maybe can help you to think differently and to understand people from different standpoints, and to sometimes have more patience with maybe other kind of mindsets and other cultures. So I think having that in you already makes it way easier to deal with such situations. And I think at work, especially when I in my field of work, where you've got to do with people and how people should be working and how the environment should be in which they're working, it helps to be able to have these different mindsets, which doesn't mean that you always understand everything and have the acceptance maybe for everything, but it does help you to be a bit more patient with different situations, I think. Yeah. What do you think? Does it help you to have different cultures?
Yeah, it's a good question. I was just somehow in my mind came a question because recently I realized, or I had the question how to deal with people that have narcissism. I find it difficult to work with them or to deal with them, and it just came into my mind. So does my cultural background helps me to accept these different personality types, and this just came to my mind. But of course, I'm a very open-minded person. I see the beauty in different perspective. Diversity is a big topic for me, and of course it helps me. And still, sometimes it's also challenging for me personally, but in the workplace, I definitely. But when I look at Arno, you have two parents from Switzerland, but people sometimes think you're from Africa, you're so outgoing, so it's not necessary that you need parents from different backgrounds to be open-minded, I would say.
That's why I was not saying nothing. No, but of course, I think it's in the diversity topic, it's inspiring to know and get insights to other culture. I think that's also key. There's so many different mindsets, and I find it really interesting what you said. Born and raised in India then. Did I understand that right? Or
no, I've been born and raised in Switzerland.
Okay.
But I still have family in India, and we go there regularly. So yeah.
Really interesting, yeah. You talked before of your field of work. Maybe if we shift a little bit to the direction of the field of work, in general, when we're talking about organizations, about how they develop, do you see some kind of trends or important movements which really get an impact on organizations? If you see if we look at the bigger pictures.
Yes, I think it's a very interesting time for companies, and there are a lot of trends. I think it's more challenging for companies to decide on which trend they want to count on and what they want to do in future, because there's so much going on, and I don't always find it easy to decide what's now a trend that you should follow and what maybe not, because it's just a phase. I definitely think that the whole technological trends, like that the technology advances very fast at the moment, that is going to be something that's going to stay with us also for the next few years, and which is really important. We also saw in the pandemic situations, the companies that were ready with technology, they profited a lot, and for them there was not too much of loss in the work-wise of the people. So I think that's going to be something that's always going to challenge us in the future. But I also think one very big thing that's going to come, or it's actually already there, is the whole demographic trend, like the way we are moving. We have always more people that are getting older and working longer, and at the same time we have people who are stopping to work, who have a lot of expertise in fields that we cannot fill at the moment because there's a gap, and there are like younger people missing in those functions. I think that's something that's going to stay with us for the next 10 years, and we have to find ways to deal with that and solve that on a long-term basis, because also the globalization and like more, the companies need to be more globally in a network, I would say, is going to get more and more important.
Sounds like a lot of changes for companies and individuals, and where do you maybe also see the downside or the obstacles for companies? You mentioned already, like, okay, it's difficult to jump on which bandwagon I jump, but where do you maybe also see challenges with all these changes?
So I think there are different levels of challenges. I think there is one challenge more on the individual level, that there's this high expectation of companies and societies that you always perform on a very high level, and you're always very close somewhere maybe to almost being exhausted. And through the whole pandemic situation, this has become even more because the boundaries between work and private life has diminished. And I think, that's on an individual level. It's really important to find ways how to deal with this situation for each person individually. But I think companies can do a lot to contribute to that, no matter if they're small or big. I think it's really important that companies find ways to encourage people to kind of, find ways and give them an environment so that they can perform on a high level, which is good for the company and also motivating for the individual, but at the same time that they do not drain out and get stressed and lose their motivation. So I think finding a way between these two worlds of having a healthy, balanced life and liking your job or doing a good job is going to be key to many of these questions. Also with the technological trends and being able to reach people on every media at any time. I think that also is something that we need to watch out for, because it's not only positive. And as I mentioned before, with the whole demographic change, I think for individuals, it's also really important that the best case scenario, I would say, is that they like to learn and that they like to keep learning new skills, because I think this new skills and being able to learn things, or also being aware about things you might not know, is a really important asset for the future. And I think upskilling people and being willing to learn new things, if it's on the job or off the job, is going to be something that helps companies as well as individuals in the future.
I mean, this is something that is at the beginning given for children to be curious, to learn, and somehow we lose that. And how was it in your case? So how did you develop this attitude to constantly learn and adapt to new? It was always like this, or it was about the environment that you also mentioned? You had the right environment, so these attributes, came along.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere it needs both. I think it's a bit your own motivation and eagerness, maybe also a bit personality. And on the other side, it's good to have people around you that encourage you and tell you, go for whatever you want to do in life. I think that's really important. But as you said, children have this trait, and somehow I think adults make them stop having it by setting boundaries, which I think is needed in a bit, but I think that you can also relearn it just by understanding that you don't know everything, and always having this mindset of there might be things I don't know, and then you should maybe think about it or read about it. Or I also don't think that it's only on an educational basis, so that you have to have a degree in whatever, or a higher degree to learn more. It's more just being curious and being open to new topics that is going to be really important, I think.
Really interesting to hear. I understand then it's also an attitude that you have, that you want to learn, or what do you think?
I think that it really depends on the people. I would say everyone is somewhere a bit curious. I think there's no one who is not. So I think everyone has that. Some people have it more, some less. So maybe it goes in the direction of a kind of attitude. I was always also as a child someone who liked to go to school, liked to learn new things, and I always liked that. So I think that's still there till today, and I like to read on topics that interest me, and even if it's just a short article or listen to podcasts. So I think that just makes you think on the go, like about topics, which I really like.
Yeah, you should definitely keep that. Nice to hear. And also before you mentioned like this thin line between a company pushing their teams, encouraging the teams, but at the same time also not that they're burning out. And yeah, for me this is a very thin line as a company, or also as when it comes to leaders. How much can you push people, and can you maybe describe a little bit the thin line, or would you say this is not so thin? It's
No, I do think that it is a very thin line, and that in the world in which we are now, that it's getting thinner and thinner. And I think that leadership and culture, or work culture as well, are two elementary factors that influence this thin line. So I think you can do a lot through leadership, to proper or correct leadership, whatever that means. I mean,
we want to hear what that means.
There's certainly not the one way to lead, but I think there are certain factors that can help to support this thin line, or not make it thinner but broader, because I think that leaders, it's getting more and more important that leaders don't just lead in a command and control fashion. I think that is known for a longer time, but also it had changed a bit to that leaders let their employees just do what they want, that kind of laissez-faire mentality, which is also not the way, I would say. It's really getting more important that leaders find ways to motivate their employees and to give them a sense of belonging and a sense of purpose, so that they understand why they are doing what they're doing, and why that is is a benefit for the company, but also for them. So to keep them motivated is extremely important, in my opinion. I also think that empathy is something that's going to be key in future, so that leaders have more traits that are empathic, and that they take time for their employees, and that it's not like a one-size-fits-all leadership, but more inspirational leadership, in which you also have place to appreciate the employees, and have time for them to understand their boundaries and the issues, I think. But by having all that and being innovative and all those good things, I think it's still important as a leader to have some kind of goal orientation, so that you do set some boundaries and do give some guidance, but everything kind of in a balanced way, which is also called like ambidextral leadership. So I think, it's like a buzzword that's out there, but I think it's going to be really important in the future to have such kind of leaders.
I missed that trend. What's that word?
So it's called ambidextral leadership. So that's kind of that you are on the one side ready to be to lead in a way that fosters innovation and like being able to think freely, get new ideas, and leave your employees to like try out new things, maybe make mistakes, which is then comes out in a better idea. But on the same hand, you have to kind of have that execution mode and have clear goals and clear targets that you want to reach. And having this balanced, which needs kind of other or different kind of behaviors is like key, because then you have like the full set of skills for employees. Yeah.
And I wanted to hear more. Yeah, you talked about the motivation, or I felt like, okay, this is really something important. What drives people within a company? And before it was mainly financial incentives. And before our podcast, you also recommended me a book, which is also about motivation. Or maybe tell us a little bit more about your understanding, or also observation. What drives people, or how can you, as a company or as a leader, find out what motivates people? Because each individual is differently. And what would you say?
Well, as you say, each individual is very different, and there's certainly not like the one thing that drives all employees. I think there are still many people that might work due to financial reasons, because they have to, because they are not so privileged as maybe we here are. So I think we should not forget that in all this, in this world where we are, where everyone speaks about you always have to work for purpose and for with the growth mindset. I think the world is bigger than that, and we have a lot of people who are working for other reasons, and that's always going to stay. But on the bright side, I think there are a lot of people who have the privilege that they are now demanding more and more, that it doesn't really matter how much they earn maybe in a job, or let's say it's like a hygiene factor. If it's not there, then it's problematic, but as long as it's there and on a certain level, it's fine, and no one thinks too much about it. But I think it's getting more and more important that people understand, why am I doing the work that I'm doing, and what is in for me in that. Like, am I coming here today and talking about something that really interests me and maybe inspires me for the rest of the day? Yes, so good for me and good for you guys. But if it wouldn't be like that, then your motivation lacks, and you come here and you're already in the mindset like, now I have to go there. Why am I here, and why am I spending my time here? So you really, I think the people are wanting more and more sense in what they do. Even also the younger generation. So it's more important for them to work in environments or settings where they also feel that's something they believe in, even in their private time or in their off work time. So it's much more important that what you work fits to your daily life. I would say that was not always like that in the past, I would say so.
Yeah, I like the answer, and now you answered in a way that it's about the individual to find out, or maybe also to raise the question, what is my driving force, or do I actually like what I'm doing? And if you turn the coin, so as a company, how can you maybe also be more purpose-driven, or maybe also give meaning to the people. So not only the people need to find their purpose, but maybe also from a perspective or organization. What do you say? Or maybe also Arno. That's our field. Yeah, it's up to you. Yeah, I want to hear.
Yeah, I think it depends also how big the company is. Depends how the company, how the structures are, how what is the management saying, and how they stand behind what they're saying. So it's a lot of points. And of course, if I talk on our side, we are a small company, and the purpose is clear or clearer, and I think easier to bring them to the people. But then I think, but then Surabhi, you can also talk about that. My opinion is, the bigger you are, the harder it is to really bring the purpose, or to how can I say that, to bring the purpose throughout the whole company, like from top to bottom, and that needs a lot of work. It is possible, but I think it could be harder. But yeah. It is my thinking. What I think, it's not impossible, but it's harder to bring that throughout the whole company.
Yeah, I would definitely join that opinion. So I think the bigger the company is, the harder it definitely is to have such a culture throughout the whole company, and throughout all the different kind of people and age groups and jobs that you have in a company. Nevertheless, I think it's got to do a lot of it has got to do with, as I said, leadership and culture. So I think that setting a right work culture in a company can really help, and can really help also to make the people feel that we're working for a company that bothers about us. So it's not just about the productivity and the goals end of the year or mid-year, but they're really also doing something for us. And I think on one side, as I said, the individuals certainly need to do something on their own also, but I think companies can help a lot with the environment and with the culture in a company to make people get into that mindset that you need for such a work environment that is that has this growth mindset and this purpose mindset. It's definitely not easy, and I don't have the solution how to how the one way could be to do this. But I definitely think that a culture in which that lives from trust, and where you have like mutual trust in a company, but where you also have a certain psychological safety. So that means that every person feels safe to speak up or even say when things go wrong, can help a lot in this case. I think, but also that, for companies, it's important to have a good person job fit. So the more you hire or get people to work in jobs that fit to their profile, and then the better you can get to this purpose-driven mindset. But of course, with all this skill gaps that we're getting, or scarce talents in certain fields, it's not so easy to get only the perfect matches for the perfect jobs. And I think in the next years, you will have more and more people that are maybe working in jobs where they have to still learn a lot to get there, so that they can do the job in a right way. And I think there it's really important to make them feel that they also have the time to learn these new skills, and give them the time to get into that mindset and mood and that motivation, so that they can work well in their field. Yeah.
I really like the answer of you both, you mentioned now a very important topic, the meaning of the culture, so the dominant culture in a company. And when we talk about cultures, it's not so easy to grasp, or it's in each company it's different. And you mentioned the importance in a culture that you care about the people, that you give time. You mentioned about the psychological safety. So a lot of points that I would definitely agree, but how can you really have influence on the culture, or maybe also change the culture? Because culture has been built throughout many years, throughout many generations, and I would like to hear about your experience, and maybe also the differences between your educational background and then also the experience in the working place.
Yes, I think you said it. How can we actually influence culture? It's not easy. It's really difficult. Culture is not something that you can change today and tomorrow you have a new culture. It's not how it works. And I think culture in companies is for me like the personality of the company. So it nice. Kind of contains certain expectations, behavioral expectations, where you come into an environment, into a company, and people expect certain ways that you act, or like how you should be in meetings. I would say that's a kind of culture that's there. Then there are like also other. When you come into a company, you always see what are other people doing, and then you might adapt your behavior because you think, okay, that's the way one does it around here. That's already where you're kind of making a person to fit to the culture that that the person has come into. And I think that happens really fast, and we all don't even realize, but we kind of adapt to the culture around us. And I think it's more and more upcoming now that people are not ready to adapt to certain cultures that are there, because they're not they're not happy with that culture in those companies, and they think then the culture should change. But that's very difficult, because you have people who have been there for many years and who do things in a certain way since many years. So I don't really have the key how one can change that, especially in big companies. But I do think that, again, leadership and people who have leading positions can do a lot to change that by being role models, by rethinking the way they behave, and maybe also being open to change certain things that you might have done the last 10 years like that, but don't fit to whatever one does today. And at the same time, there will always be the need for people who come into an other environment to adapt to some extent to a certain culture, but always in a healthy way. There are certainly also things when new people come into a company, they bring new thoughts and new ideas, and I think that's extremely important for companies, and it's something that new people should not lose too fast, and companies should embrace more strongly in future, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting if we talk about culture. I met a friend yesterday, and she's really in the mood for like looking up for different jobs, and she's having a lot of assessments at the moment. And yeah, she was telling me about two companies, and how the culture is, because she enters the one company, and there the man or the girl on the entrance, just how they're acting and how they said hello to them. She already knew which company fits more for her in the culture way. So I think it starts with the first person that you meet in a company, and that was really interesting for me to hear. I was laughing because it's crazy how also human have the feeling in the gut which culture is good for me, and that was or fits good, like fits for me. What is good or bad is always relative, but what fits for me, and that was a good example again for me, what it means or how you can feel culture.
And I
just share.
think it's an important thing that you're saying, Arno, because it's also shown, as far as I know, that company culture is one of the most important factors when you choose where you're going to work next. So if I'm searching for a job, then company culture is something that nowadays people look very exactly, what is this company doing and for what does the company stand, and does that fit to my intentions and my thoughts and beliefs. And if not, then people usually rather don't choose that company than if they feel, yes, this fit is there. And that can be, of course, because you meet people there that inspire you or that you find friendly in the first place. But it's also like, for what does this company stand? Like, do they stand for inclusion, diversity also? Do they do something in that fields? Like, if that's important for you, then you'll find a fit in such companies rather than other companies. So I think that's also something that can help to kind of find your purpose in a company, and where a company can do a lot to attract those people that fit to their purpose.
Yeah, but still, when we are in talks with a lot of companies and some, or also when I was studying, so that the importance of really investing into your people or in investing in the culture still is, for me, not there where it should be, or there's still this a lot of time I come across of, we should do a small leadership course, and then it's nice, and for me this is more like cosmetic, you know. And how's your observation, or what does it really need for a company to make these bold decisions and going into a direction where you really matter about people, where you also make big investments in cultivating this culture?
So I think actually best case would be every company would invest, as you said, in their human capital, because at the end of the day, almost no matter in which company you are in the time that we are now, I think it doesn't work without people yet. There are certainly certain fields and jobs that are working more and more automated, and where maybe people are needed, but in a different way. But I think people will always be needed by every company, no matter how far we go in automation, because if we look at companies that are driven by AI, they still have issues. How do you make a machine develop trust to people? Or the machines mostly have to work for things that people use or people need. So I think this aspect of people is always going to remain for every company, even in the future. Just the focus might be different. So I think it should be the first. Of course, I'm saying this as a work and organizational psychologist, but I think that people should be in the focus of every company and at heart of every company. So investing in people is investing in this human capital that you will always need in the future. So it's really important to have the right skills in the right place. And I think that there's no company that would be doing something wrong in investing in people. But as you said, just by doing one leadership course once a year, it's not what I mean by investing in people. So I think it's really important that you also take time to think about, do we have the right people in the right place, and do we maybe have to rethink certain ways how we have done things in the last few years, because that's no more so fitting to the way the environment is today. And I think it's just really important that one doesn't stop investing, and not only on an individual level, but also that you try to find and develop teams that function partly by themselves, that they can organize themselves, and that the fit is there between those people in the teams and in the company. I'm not quite sure if I exactly answered your question, but
yeah, definitely. As I liked the answer from your point of view as a psychologist, and that the human is in the center. I would definitely agree on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were talking about teams, how or they should all organize themselves more in this direction. So also from going to the transformational leadership style, where you are less leader centered, more team centered. Can we relate that to high performance teams, or what do you understand by high performing teams, and what environment they need? We talked about the environment already, but yeah.
Yes, I think if you Google or go and read about high performance teams, you'll find as many factors or aspects that are important for such teams as search pages, but I think there are certain factors that are really important for such teams that need to show high performance, especially having mutual trust in the team, and having this kind of team spirit is certainly very important, but also having clear roles and responsibilities is something that's been shown that helps teams to perform well. Having clear goals, definitely, but also having some kind of self-regulation, so that the team has some kind of freedom to do things in a certain way, but still has clear goals. So you can see there are some things that are contradictory maybe, but I think if you find the way that goes hand in hand, that helps teams a lot. And I think also this mindset of constantly wanting to develop as a team and learn and be open to maybe make mistakes and then redo it the next time in a better way and learn from it is something that high performance teams are characterized by it. Yeah. So I think being able to have the freedom to do things in a certain way is just one small aspect of high performance teams that I would say is important. I think, it also really depends, of course, on the field in which you're talking about high performing teams, I think.
Wow. Looking at my watch, and we're already 38 minutes talking. It's getting hotter because here in the room, because we couldn't open the window because of the sounds outside. But nevertheless, I think before we're getting to a closing, I have one last question for you. Maybe you, Amadeo, then also. But yeah, we're talking about culture, about leadership, about high-performing teams. What kind of obstacles or different things, circumstances do you see when you try to bring people, teams, or also organization forward? Like, do you see there things, hey, if that wouldn't be, world would be perfect. People knew how they fit in roles. The culture is crystal clear. Yeah.
That's
A hard one for
The hard for the life, yeah.
But I would say if I would have the solution to that, I would maybe write a book. But I don't. But I think it needs us all. So it's not just the employees that can say the company needs to do something, the company that says the society needs to do something. And there are these expectations of company to employees, employees to company, but I think it needs us all in it because as we said before, culture is not something that you start today new or refresh today and tomorrow you have a new culture. But it requires us all as each and every individual to think about their own behavior and be ready to adapt that behavior in certain situations. And I think companies can give a certain environment and foster this behavior by also being open to change and adapting and not being too hierarchical or too much set in one direction so that you say we have now certain processes or structures that they have to function for the next 5 years. I don't think that that's the future anymore. I think you have to build up in companies structures and processes that can be adapted fast. So when thinking about new processes and structures in companies, it's important to think, will this be working even after we have built it up? Because in the past it used to be like that you build up such things, it takes a lot of time, but nowadays it's by the time you've built it up you need something new. So you have to have like flexible systems and you have to be ready to adapt to changes fast, as individual but also as company, I think. And if we somehow find the way to do that as every person for themselves and then also companies, then we will also have such cultures and companies. Because in the end of the day, for me, a company culture is nothing else than an accumulation of all the people working there and the way they do things around there, and that somehow develops to a culture. So I think we can all do something so that it becomes maybe once a perfect work world. But I definitely think for companies, one of the biggest challenges will be this whole mental health and health issues of their workers in the upcoming years, and how you can get this balance between working in a hybrid work world where you are maybe not in the office 5 days a week anymore, but at the same time have high productivity and at the same time have balanced employees. So there are a lot of factors that you have to take care of as a company and as individuals. And I think that's going to be a big challenge where, we will have to see how to get over those challenges. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you have a question to us. Otherwise, I raise my last question, and we're coming to an end. Even though I would like to continue talking, it's very interesting. Do you want to hear something from us, or?
Yeah, I would like to hear, because y'all are a rather small company, I would say. So, what is your feeling when you see different company cultures? What do you think? What kind of culture is going to come to stay? Like, do you see certain companies where you would say, oh yes, they are doing it really right? And if yes, then what are they doing?
Good question. So it's about best practices, or
yeah, sort of. Like if you have seen companies where you would say, oh yes, I think they're on the right path. Yeah.
Yeah, good question. I mean, I remember during my studies, I was not so happy in my final year about the theoretical models, and I felt like, okay, is this really the way to go to model the future? And I had one specific course. It was the It was called VUCA World with Dr. Franz Rösli, and he was mentioning a lot of best practices. And even though I didn't get in touch with these companies, I was very inspired because these were big companies. So Southwest, for example, Airways, and then the Handelsbank, and that they don't have financial goals. They are just very unconventional. And for me, this was very inspiring. The shift from the management to the people. So it's not about the direction gives the direction, as not the board gives the direction. So you empower really the people to model the future of the company. So one specific case I remember, and this stayed in my mind. There was a company, a very renowned hotel in the States that was not doing so well. A 5-star hotel, and they were very in trouble, and then they decided that the people will go to a hotel that also has a 5-star, and they will be there for 1 week, and they will figure out by themselves how can we save the company in the end. And they managed to make this transformation, and for me this just shows that giving power to the people really can have a big impact. So that just came to my mind.
Interesting.
Both are looking to me, so I have to say something. Maybe I can mention about 2 weeks. I think I had a keynote on how to lead the younger generation and what they want and what they need within the company, and it was on the field of gastronomic. And there I showed one best practice from 24 hours hotel, which working now with the 4-hour work week, with the 4-day work week, sorry, and 4 hours will be like you have to be really productive. 4-day work week, which they include now to get sure that the people within the gastronomic have an attractive field to work. So this is really one best practice which I like, and which I really develop then with the students. So this is one best practice I think which goes in the direction of new working processes and new working fields, and you see it. I think the restaurant now or this gastronomic place have more young people or more people which are open to work in a different kind of fields, and there I think it needs more progressive things, or also to be brave to try and error new things. Of course, there's risk, but I think you have to, as you said, you have to include processes which you have to try, which have to be flexible, and which you can change. And I think also this example shows me a lot of these elementary things you mentioned. But Amadeo, you had the last question.
It's just a question to look ahead, Surabhi. How do you picture the future of workplace when you also think about once you're becoming a mom, or your children are raising up and they're starting to work? What kind of workplace do you wish for them?
That's a very interesting question. I definitely wish for a workplace that's more inclusive, that's more diverse also. I think some places we're getting there, but I think there's a lot to do. For me personally, as a woman and as a mom to be, it's definitely important that you can somehow make work and private life work for women as well in future. And I think that's also something which companies have to find solutions and models that this works in the future, because looking at our workforce, it's you have more and more women that are highly educated but then fall out of the labor market. And I think that's an issue where it's an issue that I personally seek to make it better by contributing my part to it, but I also think that a lot can be done by the environment and society that this gets better. So I think that's a huge topic for me personally that needs to get better in the future, and that I hope for is no more a topic when I have children that are working in companies later on, if at all. And then I also think that something that has to change, and that's important in the future, is that you think more broadly about leadership and how leaders should be, that there's not just one way how a leader should be, so that teams or people can do their jobs well. I think leaders have to also change their mindset and be role models in future. And I think there are two things that are really important to me personally.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you so much to have you here, Surabhi.
Thank you both.
was really interesting to have you in the talk. Guys out there, if you have questions also or topics which you want to that we follow in future, just write us an email, and then we can send the questions also to Surabhi.
Sure.
And yeah, really thank you that you were here. I wish you all the best. Good luck. We see each other soon in another way. And thank you, Amade, also for having you in the podcast.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much.